everyone, and welcome back to the Smart Tea podcast, where we talk about the lives of scientists and innovators who shape the world. I'm Aarati.
And I'm her mom, Jyoti. And just a heads up, everybody, I'm recovering from a nasty cold or cough, or who knows what the heck it is. But my voice quality will probably be not up to par. I'm sucking on lozenges to tide myself through this whole thing, but please bear with me on this one.
Yeah, you sound much better. Our whole family just got wiped out by some sort of cold or flu in the last week, and I bounced back really fast, but you've been taking a long time
I have
to
taken
recover.
more time than I expected. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know why. But hey, I'm on my upward curve. So
Yes, and we have a nice story to get you through the next hour or so.
awesome. This podcast will definitely bring my good moods and good vibes back.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
I'm actually curious if you've heard the name of the person we are doing today. I had not heard of her name. Her name is Virginia Apgar. Have you heard of her name at all?
I have heard of an Apgar score.
Yes.
Apgar
That's
score.
exactly it.
Is it about intelligence or is it about?
No. So it is a score that was developed to help assess the health of newborn babies.
Oh, see, you guys were born many, many, many years ago.
Yes.
That is why I don't remember this. But yes, now
Yes.
I remember.
I was wondering because I, of course, have not had any children, so I have not really done any research on pregnancy or like what it's like to have a newborn the way that any mother, I think, would. And so I was wondering if you had at some point, just because of the fact that you had had children, had somehow vaguely heard of this. But
I had heard of the Apgar score. And all I knew was everything was nice with both of you. You both had good scores. And that is why it didn't stick with me. I basically, all is cool and well. Enjoy the babies.
Yeah, I figured if it was something you had heard, it would be very fleeting. So today we're going to be talking about Virginia Apgar, who is the doctor who came up with this scoring system.
Wow, this already sounds very exciting. I did not know that the whole thing was set up by a woman to begin with. That itself makes me very happy. Awesome.
Yes. So let's get into her life. Well, actually, before we get into her life, we need to get into her father's life. Her father was named Charles Apgar, and he was married to Helen Apgar, and they lived in Westfield, New Jersey. And he actually had his own fascinating bit of history that while I was researching this story, I was like, maybe I need to drop Virginia Apgar and do him instead. Like,
he is that fascinating. All right.
He's very interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
So
maybe a back-to-back.
I thought about that too, but I decided just to shoehorn him in here. He was a business executive for various insurance and brokerage firms, but he was also an amateur radio operator and astronomer.
Oh.
And between 1913 and 1915, he built and operated a wireless amateur radio station from inside his own home. And this is at a time when the technology is still very new. So
yes,
he's a trailblazer.
Oh, wow. And these are fun times to have wireless radios. You could intercept all sorts of interesting messages.
That's exactly where we're going.
Oh, really? Oh,
yes.
This already got exciting. Okay.
Yes. So this time period where he's built this radio is during World War I. And initially, the US tried to stay out of the war. However, Charles became interested in the transmissions that were coming and going from a big wireless station in Sayville, New York, which happened to be owned by a German company.
Oh, okay.
And so the Sayville wireless station claimed that even though it was owned by a German company, it was not at all related to the German Empire. It was not sending messages. There was no connection there. But the US government was still suspicious.
Absolutely.
And so they were kind of probing into this. And they found that this station was sending some weird transmissions in Morse code. And they were transmissions that said things like, Myra has diphtheria, or
Uh-huh.
send always invoice before shipping knives.
Oh,
And they were
oh,
like, these are weird phrases for a
yes.
radio station to be
Yeah.
transmitting.
Yeah. This is definitely code for something else.
Yes.
Who talks like that?
Exactly. And so the government was like, there has to be some sort of cipher or code, but they couldn't
Yes.
pin anything. They
Break it
couldn't
down.
track.
They
Yeah, they
couldn't
couldn't
break it
crack it.
down, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Charles is sitting at his home and he's
Hmm.
listening in on these transmissions.
He's able to intercept these
Yeah.
wireless transmissions from Seville.
Yes, and he
Yes.
finds them suspicious also. He's also
Of
like
course.
these are weird. And
Yes.
so he contacts the chief radio inspector in his area and he told him that hey, in my house I actually have the ability to record the messages if that's helpful. Yeah.
And they're like, heck yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The radio inspector was like, yes, that's
Yes,
awesome.
please. Yeah.
So he put him in touch with the US Secret Service, and the Secret Service paid Charles to record about 175 of these messages, totaling about 11 hours from Sayville,
Okay.
and send them to the men in the Secret Service who were then able to use those recordings to break the code.
Okay.
And it turns out that what the Sayville station was telling the German operatives about in these coded messages was the movements of US ships that were supposedly neutral. Like,
Oh. Oh,
so
right.
either civilian shipping or Navy boats, but even though the US is neutral, they're telling them about the US's marine movements.
But those ships carry so much cargo.
Mm-hmm.
And in war times, that cargo is very precious. It doesn't matter what it is, right?
Yeah.
You absolutely can use the cargo held in these monstrous ships if you can deploy it for your own purposes.
Yeah. And not just cargo, also, there was supposed to be an agreement that any ships that were carrying American citizens would
Hmm.
not be touched because they were
Yes.
not involved in the war. So you cannot bomb any
Yeah.
ships that have US citizens on board.
America was basically like the Switzerland of that time. Like
They were trying to
neutral.
be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were trying to be at least.
So these messages are being relayed to Germany, telling them about the movements of these US ships. And
Yes.
then next thing you know, the RMS Lusitania is torpedoed, killing
Ooh.
American citizens and British citizens.
And there were a lot of Americans in there, but overall, more than 1,000 people died in that.
Yeah. And so it's very likely that these messages had a direct role in that because how
Oh
else would the
no.
Germans know exactly where the Lusitania was going to be?
Yeah.
And so that happened in May 1915, and
Yeah.
that dragged America into the war.
Wow. Yes. They said, even in World War II, also when Japan and Pearl Harbor happened, and
Mm-hmm.
even in World War One when Lusitania was sunk, both times history calls it that a sleeping giant had been woken up. They
Yeah.
were this superpower was trying to stay out of the fray, and
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, you drag me in, and now I'm going to stomp you down.
Yes. Yeah. And so Charles Apgar had a direct role in kind of linking that this Sayville
Yes,
station was sending transmissions to the Germans about
the ships,
ship
correct?
movements.
Yeah,
And then when the RMS Lusitania is bombed, it's like, yeah, you knew about it. You had a direct role
yeah,
in it. And so Charles Apgar was crucial in cracking that code and,
yes.
linking these activities.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard of a Chinese curse. They say,
Hmm.
"May you live in interesting times."
Yes, I've heard that one.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is exactly what this sounds like. It looks very interesting to sit in my armchair and listen to this. It sounds absolutely fascinating, but
Yeah.
I don't know if I have the guts to live through this.
I don't know. We
But
are living in our very own interesting times, I feel like. I'm looking around and I'm like, I don't think Gen Z has had a normal, news
yes,
cycle ever.
that is
So,
very true. That is
yeah.
very true. Every time it's like, oh my God, yes, yes.
Yeah, millennials had a few good years in the 80s when things were kind of okay, but
Okay-ish, normalish.
yeah, but after that, millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, like everyone that's come after, I'm just like, I want to tell
Yes.
them this is not normal. This is not normal what's
Yes.
happening,
But this
you know?
this has become the new
Yeah,
normal.
it
Yes.
has. Yes. So Virginia Apgar, the person
Hmm.
we're actually that the episode is actually
Whose
about,
episode this is about?
yeah, yes, is Charles's daughter, and
Hmm.
she was born on June 7th, 1909.
So she's just a little kid when
Mm-hmm.
all this happens.
Yeah, very young.
Hmm.
And as I think we can already maybe tell about her family, Virginia said that her family, quote, never sat down, always busy doing something. And it seems like the family had very high hopes for Virginia that she would really also do something great with her life and go
Yes.
far. She had a number of hobbies, most notably playing the violin. Music was something that her whole family was into, and her older brother Lawrence actually became a music professor.
Oh wow, nice. That's a big gift actually. Music provides a connection to the soul.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and she
very
was
nice, very
really into
nice.
it throughout her life. She played violin throughout her life, and she would always like look for opportunities to play in duets or quartets with other musicians wherever she was. So it was a very big part of her life.
What a gift.
But despite that, from a very young age, she was determined to go into medicine. And I think this was likely in large part because her oldest brother, Charles Jr., died from tuberculosis before Virginia was even born. But obviously, she knew about it.
Yes, so it impacted the family so much that they talked about him often.
Yeah. And then her older brother, Lawrence, the one who became a music professor, he
Hmm.
suffered from a chronic childhood illness. So he was
Oh,
also sick all the time. And so
yes,
she's witnessing their medical difficulties firsthand. And then you pair that with the fact that she had such an amazing and curious father who was into building radios and all this kind of stuff. And he also very much encouraged scientific curiosity. And so I
yes.
think those two things together pushed her towards medical science.
And also she would have that innate feeling that I want to help my brother. I want to do something good.
Exactly.
And I want to make a difference. And look at this, my brother suffering. Let me do something. So I
Yeah.
can see why she was drawn to medicine and to become a healer.
She was an excellent student at high school in
Mm.
every subject except, ironically, for home economics. She kind
Oh,
of failed at that. According to her friends, she never did learn how to cook.
mm-hmm.
In 1925, she entered Mount Holyoke, which was a women's college where she
Mm.
majored in zoology.
Hmm.
And here again, she excelled academically while also holding down several part time jobs to support herself, playing on sports teams, reporting for the college newspaper, and of
Oh,
course,
wow.
playing the violin in the college orchestra.
Lovely energy there.
She was known for that, for just having limitless energy and at the same time having a very deep understanding of the subjects that she was studying in science. So her professors were very impressed by her and her depth of knowledge.
Yes.
So, after getting her bachelor's degree, she enrolled in the College of Physicians and Surgeons, or P&S, at Columbia University in the hopes of becoming a surgeon.
Okay.
She was one of only 9 women in her class of 90 students.
Speaks to the times.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
It was also the start of the Great Depression, and Virginia was very low on funds, so she actually had to take out a loan from a family friend in order to
Hmm.
get through her medical school. She completed her MD in 1933, graduating fourth in her class, again, of
Wow.
90 students.
Oh, goodness. That's not easy.
No. But she was also $4,000 in debt, which
Hmm.
in today's money is about 100 grand.
But it's her passion. She
Yeah, she's like,
believes
I
in it.
want to become a surgeon.
Absolutely.
So she went on to do her residency at the Columbia Presbyterian Medical Center under a
Hmm.
surgeon named Dr. Alan Whipple.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was researching this story, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
Alan Whipple, that name sounds familiar to me. And that's because I've actually talked about him before on the podcast in the episode on Charles Drew.
Blood guy?
Yes, Blood
Yes.
Guy. Mm-hmm.
The one who showed that you don't really have to pull a person off the street just as you need blood. You can actually collect blood ahead of time, check it a bit, store it carefully, and then when as needed.
We have it on hand.
Yeah. So how was Alan Whipple related to Charles Drew? I forget.
So Dr. Whipple was Charles Drew's mentor,
Hmm.
and it's particularly noteworthy because Charles Drew was a black surgeon, again, like in
Aha.
the 1930s and 40s when,
Yeah.
black surgeons were pretty rare.
Right. And now Dr. Alan Whipple is mentoring Virginia Apgar.
Yeah, so I think this is actually a little bit before that. Virginia comes just a little bit before Charles Drew.
Charles Drew. But he's mentoring women and he's mentoring
Yes.
black students. So Alan
Yes.
Whipple is fairly progressive for
Yeah.
those times.
Very open-minded, very, willing to give people a chance
Yeah.
and,
Seeing the value in people past their external gender, race,
yes,
norms.
exactly. Very interesting character. So Virginia starts doing her residence with Dr. Whipple, who
Hmm.
was the chair of the surgery department at the Columbia Presbyterian Medical Center.
Hmm.
And again, she's aiming to be a surgeon,
Yeah.
but Dr. Whipple very
Hmm.
correctly tells her actually being a surgeon is not the best path for you because honestly, unfortunately, even though you are brilliant, opportunities for women surgeons are going to be difficult to come by. And
Hmm.
he had actually mentored women who had wanted to become surgeons before, and
Hmm.
none of them had been financially successful.
Okay. So he's giving her very practical advice
Yes.
and saying, this is how the world works. You can't fight the system.
Yeah.
So, and you have this ton of student loan that the loans that you have to
Exactly.
give
Yeah,
back.
you're 100 grand in debt. You're not going to get out of that by becoming a surgeon, no matter how amazing you are. It just is a
Yeah.
fact that, women
Because
surgeons.
certain doors are just not going to open for you.
Yes, which is ironic because I actually just heard a stat that today the American Medical Association has showed that women surgeons are much better at their jobs than male surgeons.
Yes.
So I find it
Yes.
kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the pressure is immense, right?
Hmm. Yeah. But I just found it kind of ironic. But yes, like she's really far in debt. This is during the Great Depression. She's not going to get a job easily. And so he said, instead of becoming surgeon, you should go into anesthesiology.
Hmm.
And this is a very interesting suggestion and a very smart and clever one, actually,
Hmm.
because up until this point, anesthesiology had been a nursing specialty. Nurses took care of giving patients anesthesia before
Right.
surgery.
Okay.
It was really seen as this very menial task. It was
Hmm.
basically just the nurse would place a gas mask or gauze that had ether or chloroform over the patient's face and let
Okay.
them inhale it until they passed out.
Got
So
it.
there was no
Technique or
yeah,
skill required to be an
exactly.
anesthesiologist at that point.
And so it was very much the nurse's job, just like, nurses draw blood and they check your heart rate or whatever. It was relegated to one of those kind of menial tasks that,
Hmm.
okay, knock the patient out. And it wasn't very precise and it wasn't very safe because the patient could very easily overdose or they could wake
Yeah,
up halfway through the operation.
correct.
You
Yes. And contraindications. You need to know which anesthetic to administer and what the person could be allergic to and what not to mix and match, things like
Yes.
that. It's not just like, oh, try and if it fails, you die. I'm so sorry, kind of. You can't do that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so in the 1930s, medical scientists are just starting to figure that out that, hey, we need to,
Ha.
kind
So
of
it's an emerging field.
exactly.
And he tells her to get onto that emerging field of
And
anesthesiology.
especially because it was relegated to nurses who were mostly
Hmm.
women at that time.
Yes.
So if she goes into anesthesiology as a
Right.
woman, it's
Yes.
much more accepted.
Yes. Correct.
But at the same time, anesthesiology is now becoming a medical practice rather than a nursing practice. So her medical degree will actually become very useful and very much
Absolutely.
needed.
Yeah, smart.
Yeah, so now they're trying to develop more precise ways to control anesthesia. And so they need to understand more about the circulatory system, the respiration system, metabolism, and things like that, which all require medical training, which is
Correct.
not given to nurses.
Yes. And even the basic stuff like, hey, don't eat before you come and all those
Mm-hmm.
little things. Who knows if they knew that otherwise you're
I
going to
think they're
choke.
starting to because they realize metabolism has something to do with how
Yeah.
anesthesiology or
Hmm.
anesthetics are affecting you. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So Dr. Whipple is seeing that there's going to be a need for medically trained anesthesiologists very soon. And so it's
Yes.
very shrewd, this move
Yes.
of
She
suggesting that
is
she goes
good.
into this, very female dominated field, which
Yes.
is going to
But now
become
needs a medical
medical.
degree, and here's
Yes.
your intersection to
Yes.
rise. Very, very good mentor.
Yes. Very
Hmm.
smart.
Hmm.
And so Virginia agreed. And so after completing her residency with Dr. Whipple, she then went to the University of Wisconsin Medical School, where there was an anesthesiologist named Ralph Waters, who was also at the very forefront of this, switching anesthesiology over into a medical profession. And he
Mm-hmm.
had set up an anesthesiology program that
Oh,
was meant to start, quote unquote, professionalizing this as a
yes.
field.
Got it. Formalizing this as a true medical program rather than this slapdash, just throw some chloroform on them and hope it sticks
Yeah,
kind of
exactly. And
field.
hope you don't
Hmm.
overdose them also.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
overdosed or underdosed. We'll figure that out as we go along. No, not like that. More of a formal field requiring actual skills, actual knowledge, actual training,
Yeah.
thinking through the whole process more clearly beforehand.
Yeah. So Virginia was the only woman in this program with 15 other men.
Wow. Now
Yeah.
the percentage has gone even lower. She was within the 10%, and now it's what?
One out of 15. Yeah.
Less than 7%. Wow.
I thought this was cute. They dubbed themselves the Aqualumni,
Oh,
playing on Dr. Waters' name.
got it, got it.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha. Good
Yeah.
fun.
I think she was in the first class, but anyone who went into his program from then
Well,
on were
became
the
an
Aqua
Aqua
alumni.
alumni. Okay,
Yeah.
Aqua for the waters. Cute.
Yes.
Very cute.
Yes. She finished up her training with Dr. Emery Rovenstein at the Bellevue Hospital in New York. And
Mm-hmm.
when she graduated in 1937, she became the 50th American doctor to become a board certified anesthesiologist.
Ooh,
Yeah.
wow. Wow. 50th anesthesiologist in the
In
USA.
America. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We have one per state now. Yes.
Amazing. That's truly amazing.
She then returned to the Columbia Presbyterian Medical Center, where Dr. Whipple supported her in setting up a new division of anesthesia, where
Mm,
she served as the director within this department of surgery, so within his own
nice.
department.
Got it. Got it. She's so young.
Yeah, and she's the first woman to head a division at this medical center.
Wow. She just rose like cream to the top. Amazing.
So the plan was that slowly over time, they would replace the current nurse anesthesiologists with medical doctors
Yeah.
as the nurses naturally relocated or left the hospital to get married.
Yes.
They also planned to start out focusing on clinical anesthesia and then slowly set up a teaching and research program. Virginia did most of the teaching herself and
Hmm.
became a much loved clinical instructor, even writing textbooks on anesthesiology for students
Oh,
to study.
wow. That limitless energy coming
Yes.
back to serve her. Need to figure out what she ate and how she managed to have that unlimited energy like that. Mm,
And very outgoing. A lot of her teaching happened outside of the classroom during clinical rounds. She
yes.
was completely unembarrassed or unashamed about talking about any part of the human body, didn't matter. She often had students feel her own tailbone, which was
Huh.
apparently at a weird angle. when they learned about spinal
Oh,
anesthesia.
so she was willing to use herself as a guinea pig, basically. Like, look, this is the kind of weirdness you can have.
It's like, do you see how my spine angles at this weird way? You may have patients like that.
And
So,
then you need to do XYZ in order to circumvent that when you give them the spinal
yeah.
anesthesia. Oh, wow.
She also carried around a penknife for emergency tracheostomies and an endotracheal tube and a laryngoscope, advising her students to always be ready for emergency resuscitations.
Oh my gosh.
She said, quote, "Nobody but nobody is going to stop breathing on me," end quote.
Yeah, you
And it,
never know
yeah,
when you're. So this is not even CPR level. This is the next level up.
yes.
Whew.
But all that said, the going was very tough. Since anesthesiology had just become elevated into a medical practice, there weren't
Hmm.
many trained doctors in the field or even willing to enter the field because it was still very largely looked at as nurses' work.
That's right. That's right. It has a stigma.
And surgeons also were not used to having another medically trained doctor in the room with them, in the operating room.
Oh,
They were used to being the ultimate authority in the operating room. And now, if you introduce a medically trained anesthesiologist into the room, they now have to share power.
that's right. And they have to be a little bit more careful. They can't just be like, yeah, that's what happened, and because there'll be another doctor watching them. It's like there's a check and balance system inadvertently being introduced into the system now.
Yes. And this was another point that I found a little bit ironic because today I've heard that actually it's like whatever the anesthesiologist says goes. It doesn't matter.
Oh, really?
They're actually the ultimate boss in the operating room. If the
Oh,
anesthesiologist says stop the operation, we're stopping the operation.
oh, wow. Because they are more intimately connected to the metabolic system of the patient who is under the
Yep.
anesthetic.
They're monitoring the health and if,
Yeah, and if they
anything is
the
going
breathing has
wrong.
gone off, stop. Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
they're not. The patient is not able to sustain this. Stop.
Yeah, so it's completely flipped now. Anesthesiology is one of the toughest medical fields, I think, to get into
To get
nowadays because it's
into.
just so much
Oh,
responsibility, it's so much pressure.
yes, you're the ultimate authority in the operating room. It's so funny, right? To go back in time to see a place where they're like, nah, we don't want to be an
Yeah.
anesthesiologist.
Yeah,
Oh my
exactly.
gosh.
So then you add to this now. So we have all these problems with like doctors not wanting to go into anesthesiology, surgeons not wanting to share power, and then you add to this in the 1940s the US is preparing to enter World War II, and so a
Correct,
lot of
correct.
physicians are enlisting in the military, which is leading to staff shortages in all the hospitals.
That's right.
But during and after the war, there's a huge boom in more complex medical practices because physicians are faced with these big traumatic injuries. And
Yes.
so the interest in anesthesiology as a medical profession really took off. So during the 1940s, after the war, the anesthesiology division under Virginia's direction was finally able to develop into a very solid teaching and clinical program. So much so that by 1949, there was talk of converting the anesthesiology division, which
Mm.
was, remember, in the Department of
Yeah,
Surgery.
you're
Yeah.
correct.
So they were talking about converting it into its own full fledged department.
Yeah, okay. This is getting bigger and bigger. Yeah.
However, despite Virginia having spent 11 years building up the anesthesiology division, there were
Mm.
doubts that she would be able to lead a full department because she had spent
Oh,
so much time focusing on teaching and clinical practice that she had not really done anything in the way of research. And a
oh my
department
God.
needed all of these things.
They'll find the one thing, you
Yeah.
did this, you did this, you did this, but you didn't stand on your head when you're doing it, and that is truly required. And I don't know. I feel that that's like nitpicking to kind of
Yeah.
squeeze her out of the.
Maybe a little bit. So they did form the new department, and one of her colleagues, Dr. Emmanuel Papper, who was a man who had a research background, he became head of the department.
Mm,
However, Virginia was appointed a professor of anesthesiology, which made her the first full woman professor at Columbia's College of Physicians and Surgeons. So
mm,
she wasn't
okay.
completely shoved aside, it wasn't
Hmm.
like a complete
Yeah.
dismissal of her or
Complete
yeah.
dismissal of her skills. Okay.
Yes. And actually, it worked really well in her favor because it removed the burden of her having to do administrative work. And so she
Oh,
was
okay.
finally able to focus all of her attention on teaching and clinical work.
Okay. Which was probably more rewarding in the long run.
Yes, which is what she
Okay.
wanted to do. So it
Okay.
worked out for her. Hi, everyone. Aarati here. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. If so, and you wish someone would tell your science story, I founded a science communications company called SciComm, that's SYKOM, that can help. SciComm blends creativity with scientific accuracy to create all types of science communications content, including explainer videos, slide presentations, science writing, and more. We work with academic researchers, tech companies, nonprofits, or really any scientist to help simplify your science. Check us out at SciCommer.com. That's SYKOMMER.com. Okay, back to the story. So during the war, Virginia had developed a strong interest in obstetric anesthesiology, which is anesthesia that is given to a mother during childbirth to help ease labor pain.
Yes.
And that's because a lot of the work at the hospital during the war was focused on obstetric
Obstetrics.
anesthesiology.
Yes. Yes.
At this time now, more babies are being born in hospitals than they were at home.
Slowly that shift is happening. Okay.
And of course, with all the men away at the war, most
Yes.
of the people needing anesthesiology are women giving birth. That's the bulk of the population.
That's true. Correct. Correct.
However, Virginia noticed that in a delivery room, most of
Hmm.
the doctors and nurses were completely focused on the mother. Even after the
Yes.
baby was born, no one was focusing at all on the newborn baby. And so no one was really checking to make sure, is it okay? Is it
That's
breathing
right.
properly? Things like that.
You
And
do need
so,
two teams. You do need
yeah,
two teams to be there. Absolutely. There's two patients right now. As
it
soon as the baby
went from
comes out,
one to
there's,
two. Yeah.
yes, you went from one to two right there. Yes.
Yeah. So normally what happened is when the baby was born, it was given a quick look to see if it looked normal. But what
Hmm.
constituted as quote unquote normal was not well defined. And so it was really up to the interpretation of the doctor if they
Yes.
deemed it to be normal or not.
Which is very subjective.
Very much. If the baby looked blue or wasn't crying properly or was gasping for air or had a very slow heartbeat, the doctor could rate it as abnormal. And then
Okay.
if the baby died shortly after birth, it could be chalked up to that abnormal condition that the baby was
Oh,
born abnormally and nature just took its course. And
my
it was like no
goodness.
fault of it's not the doctor's fault. It's just how
Nobody's
nature
fault.
intended. Yeah,
This is what it is. Yeah.
nothing to do.
Oh, oh, sad.
But Virginia was like, all of these symptoms, like the baby turning blue, gasping for air, not crying, slow heartbeat, that's
Yeah.
all indicative of the baby not having enough oxygen. So if you notice these symptoms, and instead of saying just abnormal birth and then going back to the
Yes.
mother,
Give them
someone should
oxygen.
take the time to, yeah, make sure the baby's airways are clear and provide it with oxygen and get it breathing properly, either by giving it oxygen mask or doing mouth to mouth resuscitation. Like,
Yeah.
try to get it breathing properly.
Yeah.
The other thing that she noticed, importantly, was that there was a link between the type of anesthesia the mother got during labor and whether the
Ah.
baby was breathing normally when it was born.
Oh, wow. That's a good one to catch.
Yeah. So she noticed that if the mother was given really high doses of anesthesia, it was more common for the baby to exhibit breathing problems immediately upon birth.
Yes.
So soon she started making it mandatory for all of her anesthesiology residents that she was mentoring to start doing rotations in obstetrics. So, according to legend, one day, one of her students approached her at breakfast and they asked her exactly what signs should they be looking for when a new baby was born to tell if it was okay or not. Virginia grabbed a napkin and she wrote down 5 things to check. In the early 1960s, medical students turned these 5 things into an acronym, based on Virginia Apgar's name to help them remember.
Okay.
So we have A for appearance, which is what is the color of the baby?
Yeah.
Is it pink, a healthy pink color, which means lots of oxygen, breathing properly,
Yeah.
or is it turning blue? Then P is the next letter for pulse or heart rate.
Mm.
G is for grimace, which means reflexive response. The next A in Apgar is for activity or muscle tone. And then R is for respiration. Is the baby gasping or breathing normally?
Yes. Yes. So Apgar became not just the score, reflects not just the name, but it's actually an acronym for actual tests to be conducted.
Yes. So Virginia didn't make up the acronym, but she heard about it because students are learning, like, these are the 5 things you need to check. And they're like, oh, Apgar has 5 letters. We'll just correlate and help remember that for the Apgar
Correct.
score, you have to check these 5 things.
Nice.
And actually, I read that a lot of people didn't realize that Apgar was a person's name. They just thought it was
Yeah.
called the Apgar score because of that mnemonic
Because
device.
of those symptoms that they correlated to.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they would meet her and she's like, I'm Virginia Apgar. And they're like, you're a person? Wait.
Amazing.
Yeah. She was thrilled by this. She was like, oh, this is so cool. They came up
This
with a
is so
mnemonic
cute.
device. Yeah.
Yes. But it also shows you how much she was loved by her
Yes.
students. People don't do these kind of things. They don't take the trouble to make your name into a mnemonic device unless they really respect the heck out of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, nice.
So I thought that was very cool.
Very nice. Very cool. I like it a lot.
Yeah. And the other important thing to note, though, is that she didn't just like choose these 5 things randomly. These 5 things are what anesthesiologists check when they are monitoring patients who are under surgery.
Yes.
Over time, she developed this checklist into a scoring system where doctors would rate the baby in each of the 5 categories as either 0, 1, or 2. And then you would add them up to get an Apgar score. So a 2 in each of the 5 categories would give you an Apgar score of 10, meaning the baby was in the best possible health. An Apgar score of 7 or higher means the baby's in good health. And a score of 6 or below means maybe further evaluation or medical intervention may be needed.
Got it.
She presented this scoring system in 1952 at an International Congress of Anesthetists, and she published the Apgar score in 1953.
Nice.
Over the next few years, as doctors started using the score, it became clear that it was a vital tool in the delivery room, as low scores correlated very strongly with infant mortality.
Yes.
And that immediate medical treatment was needed to try and help these babies survive.
Yes, you need to intervene right away.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You can't just like call it abnormal and be like, okay.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Actually, I have to be grateful for this score. And the fact that she brought attention to the fact that if the baby is not doing well, do something about it right away and rescue the baby. Because your brother was born like that.
Really?
Yeah, he was born with the umbilical cord around his neck.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah, when he came out, they took him and they immediately put him into a vent-like situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept looking. It's like, hey, when I gave birth to my daughter, she was brought to me right away.
Mm-hmm.
But this little child is being kept over there on the side. What is going on?
Yeah.
And then after about 20 to 30 minutes, they brought him in to me. And nobody really said anything, but I get it. That's what had happened. And that is why they were
they
making
must have
sure
realized that,
he has to be
that's
fully
a
oxygenated.
potentially dangerous situation. And that vent was probably giving him oxygen.
Giving him oxygen. Yeah, make sure he's fully oxygenated.
Yeah.
And then once his color is good, he looks good by the Apgar score, then take him out of there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so scary. Can you imagine if they were just like, oh, well, we'll see what happens?
Yeah. Yeah, he's a brown baby anyway. He's never going to look pink. No problem. Bye.
That would be so terrible. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah. So I can't imagine the number of stories like that that are out there that,
and he was perfectly healthy.
Fine.
Just needed 5 minutes of care at the right point. That's it.
Yes.
And that is such a obvious at this point. Like, hello, you just came from one world into another world and through a very weird portal. So
Yeah.
maybe you
And
should be.
it's not even like, maybe he wouldn't have even died, but it's like who knows what
No, but
happens to your
but the brain
brain.
function would have been
Yeah.
reduced, maybe.
Yeah, and so he could have had, disabilities or difficulties throughout his life
Absolutely. Throughout
just
his life,
because
he
of
would have
that.
struggled.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
and
now
that
he's
all
like
was avoided. Yeah.
everything, and he's like this fantastic fellow running around,
Yeah.
conquering the world because
Yeah.
because of those 5 minutes of accurately timed intervention.
Yes. Yeah.
Thanks to Apgar.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
Really like the impact she had
Yes,
is
absolutely. You
incalculable.
cannot calculate incalculable.
Virginia kept doing studies on thousands of newborns using her
Hmm.
score, and she
Hmm.
found that the Apgar scores also showed correlations with the type of delivery, so whether the
Hmm.
delivery was spontaneous or whether forceps were needed to pull the baby out, or
Yes.
whether it was a cesarean section, and whether
Yes.
the cesarean section had been planned versus if it was an emergency.
Yes.
This all correlated with like, oh, if it was an emergency C-section, the Apgar score tended to be a bit lower, so things like
Yes.
that. She's starting to notice patterns.
Yes.
Apgar scores also correlated with the type of anesthesia used on the mother, with
Yes.
general anesthesia correlating to asphyxia in newborns as opposed to local
Hmm.
anesthesia.
Yes. So that is why women are now given epidurals, I think.
Yes, it's safer.
Yes.
These studies really shone a spotlight on how important it was, like we were saying, for physicians to understand how to take care of newborn babies.
Yes.
And it kicked off the field of neonatal care.
But also, I think it shows a deep respect for the birthing process itself, as to how complicated the whole birthing process is, how many
Yes.
different factors can make a huge impact. And actually, if you give that kind of respect to the birthing process,
Hmm.
then the health of the mother is also taken more seriously during this process. And very often today, it's actually going in the opposite direction, where women's health is not being given as much importance. The woman is going
Hmm.
through an extremely crucial and complicated and sometimes life threatening situation when she gives birth.
Yeah.
And you need to respect that.
And especially when there's like really basic things that you can do to
Yeah,
make sure that everyone is okay,
common sense.
Just, yeah, very
Some
common
of this is
sense,
just
very,
so, it looks like common sense right now. It is
yeah.
shocking that this actually had to be stated out loud, that, hey, don't just take care of the mother in the birthing room. Have a second doctor in the room who is focused on the other patient in the room, which is the baby that just came out.
Yes, yes. So her work really kicked off this field of neonatal care, and it became an essential tool today, with many obstetricians saying that every baby born in a hospital anywhere in the world is first seen through the eyes of Dr. Virginia Apgar.
Amazing. Every newborn, first look at it the way
Hmm.
Dr. Apgar taught doctors to do. What a contribution to society. What a contribution to humankind.
Yes. Virginia was virtually swimming in newborn health data from hospitals all over the country. But soon she realized that she didn't know enough about statistics to be able to properly analyze all this data. She also didn't know much about congenital defects and how they were formed, and maybe how that correlated with pre existing conditions that were seen during pregnancy, and then how that all affected her APGAR score.
Hmm.
So she's starting to see these holes in her knowledge. So in 1958, she decided to take a sabbatical from Columbia to go to the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health to earn her master's degree.
No way.
Yeah, she's 49 years old by this point, by the way.
Wow. To get her master's in statistics and all that?
Yeah, in public health, but to learn more about statistics and congenital defects and things like that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
My brain did not even go there with her. I thought, I was just impressed by the fact that she had enough wisdom to recognize what she did not know.
Hmm.
And I was anticipating that you were going to tell me that she brought in these other people to her
She
team,
collaborated, yeah, with other
collaborated
people.
with collaborated with mathematicians and statisticians,
Hmm.
who had some kind of interdisciplinary knowledge of medicine or something like that. No, she does it herself.
Yeah.
She's like, stop this, go get this other piece of knowledge that I need, how to break down all this information into bins and try to make sense out of all this data that currently looks random.
She's like, I know there's a pattern, but I can't put my finger on it because I
I
don't
can't put
have.
my finger on it because I can't see it because I don't have the skills. And
Correct.
she herself goes to get the skills
Yeah, she doesn't just
and
hand
I
it off.
now I get it because she has the medical knowledge to know how to break the data pieces into correct statistical bins. So she has to do it herself. You need that person who has both skills in one brain, and she decides to be that person.
Yeah.
What an
So,
amazing lady.
yeah. So she's off to earn her master's degree. And around this time, while she's doing her master's degree, there was and still is, there still exists a nonprofit national foundation called March of Dimes.
Oh yes, March of Dimes, I've heard of that.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah?
Yeah.
So it was originally set up in 1938 by President Roosevelt to help fund research for a polio vaccine.
Hmm.
But today it focuses on just generally improving the health of mothers and babies by funding research into the cause and prevention of birth defects, premature birth complications, infant mortality, and advocating for better policies to care for mothers and their newborns. So in 1959, when Virginia is studying for her master's degree, March of Dimes was starting a new division called the Division of Congenital Malformations. And they approached Virginia asking if she would be interested in becoming director of the new division. And she thought, hey, that could be a really interesting opportunity. And it's a really good time for a career change anyway, right? When you're
Yeah.
doing your sabbatical, learning these new skills.
Yeah.
So immediately after graduating, she started her new job there. By the way, this is also right around the time when Frances Oldham Kelsey, remember her from
I do
your
remember her.
very first episode?
Yes, the lady who was the FDA soldier. Yes,
Yes.
prevented thalidomide from coming in.
Yeah. So she right now is making her grandstand.
Against thalidomide.
Yes, she is refusing to let thalidomide become approved by the FDA. And so, because of this, like this whole question of newborn babies and congenital birth defects and how to take care of newborns and are they okay? Are they healthy? What can we do? This is receiving a lot of attention at this time.
Yes, yes,
So, Virginia joining March of Dimes is really just like the perfect fit. It's the perfect firestorm for her. She has this outgoing nature. She has years of teaching experience. She's perfect for the job. She's traveling the country giving lectures to medical students, physicians, and the public about congenital birth defects. And because of the thalidomide scandal that, is now coming to light, she has this captive audience. Like everyone wants
yes,
to know more
yes,
about this.
absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
this is a topic that touches every home.
Yes.
Personal interest. Everybody has either a baby or a grandbaby on the way, or a niece or a nephew on the way, and
Yep.
like, oh, we want our family to be healthy. How do we make that happen?
Yes. And she's just like the most brilliant teacher and she's very
Yes,
enthusiastic. And so she's
very well
just,
equipped to pass on the correct knowledge.
yeah.
Yes,
Between 1960 and 1974, she helped double the annual income of March of Dimes.
I can imagine this.
In 1972, she teamed up with a medical journalist named Joan Beck and
Mm.
contributed to her book called Is My Baby All Right, which was an
Oh,
educational book about birth defects.
educating in every possible way. Beautiful.
Yes.
That's like such a fantastic force of the universe. Everything that you do, you're
Hmm.
doing it to make the world a better place. You're aligned so well to doing something for the greater good.
Yes.
That is beautiful.
Really amazing. She also continued to lecture at medical schools. At Cornell, she was a lecturer and clinical professor in pediatrics with a specialty in teratology, which is the study of birth defects. She was the first of her kind in that regard at
Hmm.
Cornell. She was also a lecturer at Johns Hopkins School of Public Health. So she turned right back around after she did her master's, started lecturing there. Virginia never got married or had any kids of her own, which really allowed her to pursue her career and
Yes.
also her other interests. I already mentioned that she played the violin, but
Yes.
later on in life, she got into actually making the instruments herself.
Oh, that's a completely different skill set.
Yeah. So apparently she had
Oh,
a friend who's like, I will teach you how to make a violin and how to make these string instruments.
and because she loved the violin, she could then make the instrument produce the sounds that she wanted. That, oh, this wood produces these tones, and this strings produce these tones. Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She, when she likes it, it's like an obsession. She goes deep, deep to the very roots of it.
So she made a violin, a viola, and a cello. So all
Wow.
these different string
Nice.
instruments. She also started taking flying lessons just for fun.
Whew. Yes.
She loved fly fishing, golfing, stamp collecting, and gardening.
She reminds me of Frances Oldham Kelsey also, who was also having all these various interests,
Yes, very well rounded, just, into
full of
everything.
energy, living life to the fullest.
Yeah. Very interestingly, though, although she was sometimes frustrated with the lack of opportunities for women in science,
Hmm.
and especially at the salary inequalities that she noticed,
Oh, yes.
she never really joined a women's organization or particularly tried to advocate for women in science.
Hmm.
She had felt that being a woman herself had not held her back from achieving what she wanted in her own
Okay.
career because she had been able to kind of adapt and work in spaces where there were opportunities for her to explore new frontiers and
Yes.
expend her energy. Even though she was kind of like withheld from being a surgeon, the fact that she was able to get into anesthesiology and put her full efforts there and still make full
Yes.
use of her medical training, she never felt that she was held back in any
So
way.
she felt that, hey, where there is a will, there is a way. If you want to
Yeah.
make it happen, you'll make it happen. That kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just thought it was interesting that she never really became a strong advocate or outspoken advocate for women's rights in medicine in general. She was just
Okay.
like, yeah, just do it, you
Yeah,
know?
just do it. It'll happen. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. In 1973, Virginia was diagnosed with cirrhosis, which is a
Hmm.
progressive liver disease.
Oh, why? Was there a cause for it that they could?
Not that I saw. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Despite this, though, she continued to work as hard as possible, keeping a
Mm.
completely full schedule. On August 7th, 1974, Virginia passed away at the Columbia Presbyterian Medical Center, where she had spent so much of her life learning and teaching others.
Yeah. That's like her second home.
Yeah, basically.
Wow.
After her death, she continued to receive honors. In November 1995, she was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame. In 1999, the National Women's History Project designated her an honoree.
Nice.
And of course, my favorite, the Google Doodle, honored her on June 7th in 2018 on her 109th birthday. And it's a very cute graphic. It has a little baby on there as one of the O's, I
Wow.
think, and
Oh my
her checking
goodness.
out the baby. So it was a very cute
Oh,
little graphic.
oh my God.
Yeah.
What a fantastic woman. What a beautiful life she led.
Yeah.
And she didn't let anything stop her. She's like water, like, oh, there's an obstacle, I'll flow around it and do
Yeah.
something else. But a force of nature, you cannot stop me.
Yes. Yes.
Fantastic.
And she had some good mentors, good role models, and then she became one herself. Really an amazing woman.
Amazing. I love this story. I did not know that Apgar was the name of the score and the name of the woman, and how they had modified her 5 criteria to kind of mnemonically fit
Yeah.
to make it into her score, so that permanently now, forever and ever, her contribution in making sure that the limelight is on the newborn as soon as birthing happens, not just on the mother. That was her contribution to society. Use very objective terms to decide whether the baby is good or not and do something about it right away. Very small, minor interventions at that crucial moment when it's born will
Mm-hmm.
actually make the baby healthy, happy, and alive and good again.
Yeah.
And don't just ignore it saying something abnormal came out of the mother, make the mother better again and throw the baby away. No, that's not how it's supposed to do. And that is now permanently associated with her. That is
Yes.
fantastic.
Yeah. Amazing, amazing lady. Just touched countless lives. I can't even imagine. We have a lot to be
Absolutely.
thankful for her
Our family has a
contributions.
lot to be thankful for. Your brother would not have been the amazing young man that he is today.
Yes. So for this
Yes.
Thanksgiving, we are giving thanks to,
Dr. Apgar.
yes, Dr.
Fantastic.
Virginia Apgar. Yep.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Aarti, for sharing the story with me.
Yes, I'm glad
I
you
loved
enjoyed
it.
it. Thanks for listening. If you have a suggestion for a story we should cover or thoughts you want to share about an episode, reach out to us at smartteapodcast.com. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at Smart Tea Podcast, and listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And leave us a rating or comment. It helps us grow. New episodes are released every other Wednesday. See you next time.